Councilmember Cooper,
Here.
Councilmember Shai,
Present.
Councilmember Lau,
Here.
Councilmember Gunderson,
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Thank you.
All present. Next, we move to the approval of the agenda as presented. Any motion support?
So moved. Support.
Any separation or discussion on this?
I've got a quick, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
I've got a quick question. We had some concerned citizens that were, concerned with not being able to see the amended budget. Is that something, I guess, that we can get out to them, or?
I can address that under the public hearing for the financial budget, or for the financial year 2015-16 budget.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Anything else? Hearing none, I call for a vote on the approval of agenda as presented.
Councilmember Shai,
Yes.
Councilmember Lau,
Here. Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Gunderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yep.
Amendment, approval of agenda, non-amended, excuse me, passed 5-0. Public comment, anybody wishing to comment on any agenda item, please step to the podium, name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
I'd just like to mention that the agenda wasn't posted until this morning. I went to look for it this morning, it wasn't on there. I called Corrine and she got it up right away, and I appreciate that. Just wanted to make a note that that should have been posted out of lots.
It was, I'd like to answer that. It was because of the election. With Crane being in charge of the election, it was just an oversight on her behalf. Thank you.
Am I okay?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're still writing something.
No.
Catherine Henry, 806 Wildlife Trail. Good afternoon, everybody. Actually, I used to say good evening because it was dark out, but now it's light up, so days are longer. But anyway, I appreciate the hard work that you guys have been doing on this, and I don't have specific line item comments on, that would be reserved for the public hearing part. Just as far as having a public hearing, I guess where in relation to what my husband said, not only was the agenda not posted, but I also, in looking at the packet, didn't see the document, which I'm assuming, since you all have it in front of you highlighted, that that's the budget or the amended version. I didn't see any of that posted. So there were resolutions that have been passed or will be passed. There were minutes that were attached and things. So the rest of the packet looked quite complete, except for it didn't have any of that documentation. And so I was concerned to see that there is a public hearing that was just approved to happen tonight when the public hasn't been given the information ahead of time to be able to speak. That kind of negates the purpose of having a public hearing. So I guess I would ask if you would consider to move that to the next hearing, or have next council meeting, or have a special meeting or something, so that the information can actually, because I still haven't seen it, if you can get that information made publicly available and accessible to people, and then allow at least a couple of days or so for people to review it before you have a public hearing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Robert Brown, 759 New Street. I spoke with most of the council this afternoon. I missed you. Echoing the same thoughts, I sat through both work sessions. The budget has changed dramatically from the original. And with each change, there's questions to whether it impacts services or how it plays out. And I feel that the public hearing a document that we don't really have access to or have been able to really evaluate is an injustice to us citizens that are paying our taxes for this purpose. So I hope there's a solution, there's a medium that you guys have been able to come up with since I spoke with each of you to figure out how to navigate both those, to fulfill both being good stewards of our tax dollars and also with the transparency component. In addition to that, I've reviewed the last budget, second edition, I noted the third edition. I know in the work sessions we spoke with the police department. The police department was brought up. I think the police department is severely understaffed and underfunded. Fortunately, I've been able to be involved with several groups in the area with drug awareness and the drug courts. We definitely have a need for the officers to be on staff. And I think as events continue to come in, I think there's a bicycle thing that's coming in, there's an awareness walk, we obviously have Labor Day, Macker. There's enough events that we need to make sure we have additional coverage available to us, and also making sure we have adequate staffing. So, that's all I have, thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Any other public comment on agenda items? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Next, move into the consent agenda. We have 5 items on the consent agenda. I'd ask for motion support, bring this to the floor.
So moved. Support.
Any separation? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Councilmember Lau,
Yes.
Councilmember Gunderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Shai.
Yes.
Consent agenda passed 5-0. Next, we'll move into public hearing. It is now, let me see, it looks like 7:08. This is for the fiscal year 2015-16 budget. Turn this over to Bruce for a few words and then a few comments from myself, and then I'll turn it over to the public.
Well, I am the reason for the confusion as far as the budget is concerned. I was here just a few weeks when we presented the first budget. It had a $218,000 shortfall, which seemed like quite a bit. I was able to convince everybody we would pick that up somehow over the year, but that was an area of concern for me. I don't like shortfalls at all. After that was presented publicly, we did a number of internal adjustments and were able to reduce that to $131,000, which seemed to me to still be beyond what I think I should be recommending to you. In the last few days, we have really gone over the budget and have been able to find enough adjustments that we can present you and have presented you with a balanced budget tonight, actually $11,000 to the good. The major cuts that were made in this last round, and they are cuts that we've discussed internally and with some of you. The elimination of 2 part-time police officers. We have been notified that there's a new round of COP funding programs, and we're going to attempt to cover that hole with a COP grant. That's a 3-year grant. Elimination of fringe benefits for the city manager. That hurt a lot, but the truth of the matter is I don't need fringe benefits, so I'm happy to give that to the city. The elimination of the purchase of cylinders in the fire department. We have until 2018 to complete that program, and so we kicked that ball down the road until next year. And then elimination of funds for a consultant to rewrite the zoning ordinance. I personally have a master's degree in city planning. I've written many, many zoning ordinances. I've prepared many, many master plans, and it seemed unnecessary and unreasonable to hire an outside firm when I could do that myself. So those were the 4 major cuts that we made that got us from 131,000 to 0 as far as shortfall was concerned. So we have a balanced budget that we present to you tonight. I realize that the public has not had a chance to see the final product, and probably can't intelligently discuss it tonight. I think the mayor will suggest to you a way to solve that problem over the next couple of weeks. So I apologize. To me, we were going in the right direction, and it seemed to me the better course to take to make sure that we were able to present you with a balanced budget. Essentially, it's a flatline budget. There's not a lot of significant increases. There's not a significant decrease. The level of city services remains pretty much the same. And when we're finished, we have created a general fund balance of $1,300,000, sometimes known as a rainy day fund. And that is up from last year by $100,000. So I apologize for putting you in a position where you're opening a public hearing on something that nobody of you has seen. But on the other hand, it seemed to me the better part of wisdom to take the time to bring you a budget that was balanced. So those are my comments.
Thank you. One thing I'd like to explain is that at the end of this the public comments on for the public hearing for the fiscal year 15-16, I will continue the public hearing until May 19th for further public comment. The tentative budget, if it gets passed tonight, will be posted on the website along with the Facebook page. I do apologize also for the workshops that we had to go through as far as the budgets being changed, the numbers being changed, but it was a necessary evil, I guess, for the city. So with that being said, the budget was posted on the city Facebook page for the weekend, but that was not the actual one that we were looking at tonight. So, other than what Bruce had mentioned, that was all in there, nothing else had changed. So, with that being said, if there's any public comment right now for the fiscal year 2015-16, please step to the podium.
Jeff Hunter, 602 Zam Road. Seems like year after year after year, the city's always talking about having cuts on their budget. But still, I keep bringing up the question of when the city's going to stop spending money on dumping poison in the city water and stop spending money on fluoride. Even the federal government has come out now last week and said the city should cut down on it. So why doesn't the city of Belleville just completely stop spending, what, $34,000, $36,000 a year on it? I mean, is it more important to keep dumping that in the water than it is to get rid of 2 part-time police officers? Or is dumping fluoride in the water more important? Well, in the past, it has been more important. You could have stopped spending money on that before and saved our ambulance department at one time. Or you could have stopped spending money on fluoride and saved their dispatch at one time. Well, I mean, you're just going to keep cutting jobs and services over something that the city doesn't need to be putting in the water, period. I mean, a lot of people believe these studies that say it does good. Well, if people are worried about their teeth or their kids' teeth, well, then they can make them brush your teeth. There's a lot of us that grew up out in the country on well water that don't have a lot of problems, so I don't know why taxpayers still have to spend their money on it. So I'm just kind of curious on why, again, you don't hear anybody talking about not taking it out or cutting back on it, or it's just back to cutting jobs and cutting services. So that's all.
There you go. Any other public comment?
Robert Brown, 759 J Street. I'd just like to remind council, I sat through both workshops with this budget. This is your guys' budget. I mean, this is the goals, the aspirations, the dreams, the vision of council. I mean, City Hall prepares it. but you guys guide what City Hall needs to do. If you guys want to focus on tourism park, I mean, your budget reflects that. So I hope, as this continues to be revised and in the future, I really hope that council really starts asking some questions, getting a vision and figuring out where you guys want to take the city, and I hope the budget starts reflecting that, and not just how to get a bottom line to have a green number. So, thank you.
Joe Emerson, I know in West State, in your budget, for one example, you got a perpetual fund in there. About $144,000 in it. It seems to be, in the general fund, it's receiving $125 interest on it. Is that a poor investment, or is that the best investment you can get? You talked about over $1 million in funds left over. I've been arguing about this for a long time. We need a financial investor to get this money in, draw interest. Total interest drawn, and the total fund you got, $1,700. Well, you want to save money and hire people, get somebody to invest this money. It sits there doing nothing. The perpetual fund is a fund that you can't use. You can put it in a 30, 40, 50-year fund. That's it. Thank you.
There you go. Any other public comment on the public hearing for the fiscal year 2015-16 budget?
Hi again, Catherine Henry. The only thing I was able to glean specifically about some of the projects that may be getting more money or less money in the budget was just what I saw in the minutes from the last, well, I think it might have been minutes from the workshop, they're all put together. And there was some discussion about water sewer projects and water sewer rates that might be seeing an increase soon. And I guess I have a big concern about that, and my concern is that I've, paid municipal water and sewer rates to various communities in Minnesota and various communities around Michigan, including Midland, Michigan, which tends to have the, reputation of having higher tax base and higher amenities provided and, higher costs to maintain those. And even in Midland, or any of the other places I've lived at, the cost for the municipal water and sewer services are by far way more here than they are in any other community I've ever lived in. At times, comparing, even gallon to gallon times of rates, it seems like it's even, 2, 3, 4 times the cost. And I know that cost of everything can increase over time, but it just seems like that's quite a significant increase to have over, like I said, my knowledge of what I've paid per gallon or per unit of measure, whatever it is on the bills, for this community versus other communities. So seeing how it's already quite a lot, I guess I would hope that you will be able to find a way to figure out some other things with that to make sure that we don't see an increase in the water sewer rates, and that we're able to still take care of whatever projects that you guys had talked about in those minutes, but that we're able to find the funding without seeing an even bigger cost to us as residents here, because we also pay much higher taxes than most of the communities around us. And so that combined with the high water and sewer rates, it's just a bit much for the average person that lives in Belding, doesn't have a ton of money. They're all working class families. So I guess I would ask you to really consider that and take that under your advisement, and again, I haven't seen the specifics, I'm just basing it off of what I assume from the minutes is happening, but if you could take a look at that, if that is what's going on, if you could give that careful consideration, I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Any other public comment on the fiscal year 2015-16 budget? Seeing none, as I spoke earlier, I will continue the public hearing through May 19th. Further public comment. And with that being said, we will next move into the reports by the city council from for liaison. Dennis, start with you.
Okay. There was a recreation board meeting last night, unfortunately. I missed both that and our workshop because I've been out of town for a few weeks. And so I'm gonna figure out what happened there. I'll report back to you. I know that I was approached the beginning of last week, and Kevin, I'll give it to you and Bruce as well. I know we have a recreation board member here. There's a group that wants to donate money to our community and constructing a pickleball court. Same group that did the shuffleboards, and they'd like to put it at one of our parks, and they want to go forward with that project and see how receptive the city is. I don't know why they wouldn't be receptive. I know there's a group of people in Belding that go to Florida every winter, and they are really participating, playing pickleball here the last few winters, and they want to bring it to our community. And so I'll get with you and a few others here in the next few days, and we can move forward with that. So.
I've had no meetings. They had a meeting before our last meeting, the housing committee. Like on the third Thursday of this month. Haven't been notified yet.
Jerry?
I have no museum report. The Labor Day committee had a chicken dinner fundraiser at the VFW, and it was very successful. They raised $800. They actually sold out of the chicken dinner about 6 o'clock, I understand. And very, very a successful fundraiser for them. I'm sure they're going to plan on more. They also did nominations of grand marshals, and within the near future they will be nominated for grand marshal. We'll be notified of that in the future.
Thank you.
Not to step on the right board, but I noticed there was a lot of cars up to Demarest Field Saturday, and checking with Frank Mason, they had a very successful ball tournament up there. If you weren't up in that area, they were parked down Demarest and around the corners. And the lot was full, it was packed up there. They had a really good turnout, so congratulate the city on that part. We had a planning commission meeting Thursday, 30th. The chairman welcomed the new city manager. First time we had a meeting with him. There was nothing on the Board of Appeals. City manager is pursuing negotiations with Electrolux and hopefully get the fence down. As you heard earlier from Bruce, working on the new or revised zoning ordinances for Belding. He's going to be working on them, and all the planning commission people had homework assigned to them, both to review the zoning book and also to go over the master plan. master plan, I think it's pages 39 to 52, there was just a ton of goals and objectives that, for the city to do. And with the guidance of our city manager, we want to narrow that down to 10 or 15 maybe, at the most, closer to 10. So that was part of our assignment as planning commission members to review that and kind of pick up our favorite or most needed 10 and work on getting that. And like I said, going over the zoning ordinances, anything that we see maybe out of line or descriptions that are had. And then with the expertise of our city manager, come up with the corrections that we need to do. We do need 2 more members on the planning commission. At this point, there's 5 of us on there. There's room, calls for 7, including the city council representative. So we need 2 more members. If anybody's interested in putting their name in the ring, we'd be happy to have you make your application up to the city hall, get it taken care of. I think that pretty much covers it.
Thank you. Library board met. The meetings have been going quite long, so they've actually set up a meeting for the personnel policy handbook for a Saturday. So that will be coming up in the future. Bills are paid, obviously, things are moving forward over there. They're working on the getting the millage in place for 2017. DDA meets this Thursday here at noon, so anybody wishing to attend a DDA meeting, we will be here. Other than that, can't think of anything else right now. We have no unfinished business. Under new business, we have approval of a tentative fiscal year 2015-16 budget. Bruce, you got anything you'd like to say on this?
Oh, I think I've pretty much covered the territory.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask a motion to support, bring this to the floor?
So moved. Support.
I'm going to go out of sequence this time. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at what was presented to them this afternoon. I've had a chance to go through it. I've made some phone calls to Bruce and talked to him about it. I also have concerns about removing 2 part-time police officers for the city. And I looked through the budget. We have highlighted versions of what's been changed and what hasn't been changed that we have received. And what I would like to propose is in this tentative budget that we remove the, under 101 general fund, it'd be 258 central municipal account. I would like to propose removing the 818 spring cleanup, which is the pitch landfill tags. And I would like to use that $6,000 that is in there to bring 1 part-time police officer in. The reason I want to do this is because with the COPS grants coming up, it could take a minimum of 90 days to get those results. It would take, again, up to 30 days, depending on if Dale has the applicants available to really get them in place. And by that point in time, we'd be through the summer. By changing this would be effective July 1st. And then that way, police chief could possibly have someone in place knowing that the tentative budget or the budget was adopted. The removal of the spring cleanup is $6,000. The additional part-time person, I had Becky figure it out, and that's $14,433 with benefits. So we would still end up with a balanced budget and have $3,291 roughly left over. And I personally would rather see the police officers, as was stated earlier, my same reasoning was for the events that are coming in this year. We have events that we've never had before. You know, we have a safety issue. There's been concerns by the public with only one police officer on duty at times. And, you know, we also obviously, most of us, and I think all of us, are aware of the drug situation that we have here in town that's been brought to light. So, with that being said, I guess any other discussion on this budget? Tom, start with you.
No, I think we've talked about it. I've looked over what Bruce has brought sent out this afternoon. As much as I, don't want to see us lose any more officers, we aren't really losing them, we're not gaining. I'm not sure that, that some of our officer shifts couldn't be moved around, but that's not our prerogative to micromanage that. But yeah, I'm comfortable just having one officer on duty at night also. At this point, I'm comfortable. I'd like to wait to make any of those decisions until we have our final budget hearing and hear from the community on the 19th.
If, in the point of changing this over now, is that they would have a solid budget to look at tonight if we accept the tentative budget. That was why I more or less spoke out of turn what I normally would do to bring that up. Because I really feel this community needs a solid budget that they're going to be able to look at that's not going to be changed, over the next 2-week period. I think the transparency of the city council with everything that we've been through, with the workshops and Bruce has been through, that was my only concern, and that's why I was trying to find, a reasonable way to bring more security into it.
I don't have a particular problem with what you said.
Thank you. Dennis?
Bruce, this might not be a fair question to you, but in terms of staffing of our police department, is our staffing of our police department last year similar to the previous 5, 6, 7 years? I know that might not be a fair question to you. Anyone that's been at City Hall? Okay, so we haven't lost a police officer, in other words.
The two police officers that were eliminated were new. They were going to be additions to
Yes.
existing staff.
So if we have, I'm just throwing out arbitrary number, 10 police officers. And we've had 10 police officers for 6 or 7 years. And we've had the same, we've been staffed the same in our police department for quite some time. So the 2 part-time officers will be in addition to that. Okay. I guess my next question is into our detective position. We haven't had a detective position since, is it Tom O'Connor maybe? No,
it's Dave.
I know, but prior to that, I don't think we've had one for some time. Is that some of our issues? Because I'm not sure. I think we might be able to restructure that department to get the coverage that we need. And I'm with people that I know there's consternation over our police department and some of the issues in our town, and I'm all for that. But I guess sometimes if we don't have it, we don't have it, So I don't know if we need to look into restructuring that as one of our options, or what we need to do. So I guess those are my thoughts on that.
Well, I believe that he does regular patrols and stuff.
He does.
And then does this additionally. But there's sometimes we need a detective.
Yeah, no, I agree, but
So.
on the same token, our county's got detectives,
Yes. But sometimes.
Yeah, there's only 2 of them, I think.
Yeah, you don't get as much out of,
Yeah.
sometimes one who's more familiar with the town
Yeah.
and what's going on and stuff is a bonus.
Mhm. Oh, I mean,
I mean, not that sometimes it doesn't do good to get an out-of-towner in, because then he doesn't have any preconceived notions or whatever he is, so.
You all set then?
Yes.
Mike, anything else?
No, I believe that we do need to do something, to care of the problem anyway.
Jerry?
I'd like to just bring up the, under public comment we had, somebody mentioned we're only gaining interest, $125 interest on maybe the last page under the River Ridge Cemetery. We're only getting interest on the $144,000, is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing? We're only getting $125 interest on $144,000, is that what I'm hearing correctly?
How's that? What's it in, an interest-bearing checking account of 10% or something?
Interest rates.
It doesn't, to me, that doesn't seem like a lot. I'm not a math major, but looking at $125 interest on $144,000, this doesn't seem like we're getting our money's worth out of whatever this is in.
Well, that could be a charge that we could give Bruce to look into.
Yeah.
I know it's been looked into by past administration,
Right.
and they said they couldn't do anything better than what they were getting at the time. It wasn't worth moving, so.
All right. Yeah, I would appreciate that, if we could look into that, I appreciate that.
Is that a balance that we have to maintain for a reason?
Yes. It is.
Now, is that just on the River Ridge Cemetery, or is that on the whole operations of the city? See, what's at the back of the last page, I mean, is that the 18% that we have to have, is that what that is?
We dig that out.
Could I speak?
Not right now, Joe, I'm sorry. Well, this is for the care of it, this is the care of the upkeep of the actual cemetery is what this is. It's for the people that have already paid for the lots, that have already have deceased members in there or prepaid, and this is the money to take care of that cemetery.
Okay.
That's what this is.
And I guess getting back to some of the comments that were made about police coverage. Again, not to, like Tom said, not to micromanage, but I think, you know, with the weekends, especially Fridays and Saturdays, and I by no means am I, telling Dale how to operate this department, but, we could always stagger a shift there by maybe during our busy schedule, and I'm just looking at maybe part-time, or like from 8 to 4, 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., when the bars are out and the bars are getting done, maybe, but I might, again.
I think there usually is on weekends.
Yeah.
I think there usually is too on weekends.
Okay. But, I agree that we have a lot of events coming to town, and I think another police officer would be very beneficial. But, I like the idea of at least getting approval for one part-time or not. That would help.
If we would change the budget to add that part-time person by deleting the cleanup tags, would we still be able to apply for 2 part-time? And I think maybe with on the spring cleanup, I think the original intent when we had the full-blown cleanup and we'd bring dumpsters and stuff down here was one thing. But I'm not sure that with the tag system is the most efficient use of taxpayer dollars by permitting, it's nice to permit the people to get the tags and take their junk out there, but is it just because they're cleaning up, or they may have a friend out in the country that, I know they're not supposed to do that, but you know what I'm saying, you know, I'm gonna take a pickup load of stuff out to Pitches, hey Joe, have you got, you know, anything you wanna throw on there while I'm going out there, it won't cost you anything, you know. I don't really have a problem getting rid of the spring cleanup money, and if we use it for an extra police officer, I don't have a problem with that.
I guess, has anybody purchased any of those tags as of yet?
Yes.
They have?
October.
So we would have to,
We would have about 6,200 dollars.
But that would be in this year. We're talking about next year, right? We would eliminate them completely. I do know that by looking at this budget, Bruce and I have talked, we've talked about it at the workshops, that our department heads need to start being very diligent on writing grants and making sure that anything that's at all available for them can be sought for, even if we get no, at least we've applied. I think, you know, for us not to do that would not be right, even for the residents, when the monies are available. I've looked through this several times. I've looked through the amended budgets, and I don't see where we can cut any more at this point in time. I'm not saying that the total budget's going to be spent. I do feel, as I stated earlier, that the tentative budget really needs to be voted on tonight and put out there for the public on the website, on the Facebook page, so they'll have 2 weeks to go through it. And that way we'll get their input from it. I do apologize again for the lack of availability of it. It's, as Bruce said, it's been one of those times right now, so. Anybody have any other comment?
yeah, I just want to know if council have enough time to review this. I know they have their own jobs too, and I know I just got this at 3 o'clock, and no, actually,
We're only approving the tentative budget. By the charter, we have to have this approved so that we can continue and approve the actual budget the third Tuesday of the month of May. So
Are you looking for a motion to amend the tentative budget, deleting the $6,000 for spring cleanup and adding the one part-time police officer with the intent to go after a grant for 2 more part-time?
yes.
So moved.
Support.
Any other discussion on this? I would like to thank everybody for what they've done and the time they've given us. I will call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Gunderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Shai,
Yes.
Councilmember Lau.
yes.
Approval of the tentative budget for the fiscal year 15-16 passed 5-0. Thank you, everyone. Public comment. Anybody wishing to comment on any item, please step to the podium, name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
On camera, shall I, so? Bob Brown, 747 J Street. Do we still have a reserve officer unit here? Back in the day, when we were talking about these events, we had the biggest smacker, and we had a police force and 10 reserve officers. And the bylaws, so they got to ride 8 hours a month. And that would cover the shifts. And they had arresting power as long as it was a full-time officer on duty. And Jerry talked about shifts. We had shifts that went 4 to midnight, 1 officer, and one would come at 8 till 4 in the morning. The 4 to midnight would leave, and other one come to midnight to 8, so you had a 4 hours officer on both shifts on weekends. That's how it worked in there. The reserve officers they're all supposed to be trained. I went through Kent County Traffic Squad, LCC, and Greenbelts. We carried guns, we had arresting power. I patrolled the streets by myself sometimes. When the cop took me to jail, someone to jail. That's what you need to do. You need to utilize that volunteer force. They're volunteers. Doesn't cost you a dime. And if you don't abide by the bylaws, then it's time to get somebody else. It's simple. It's a good ordeal. I think Graham Home might have the one that gave us the arresting powers when she was back Attorney General, whatever she was. I remember going through the classes. I averaged 600 hours a year, volunteer. And like I said, we had the biggest factor. We only 10 reserve officers, and the rest were full-time officers. I mean, it's not an easy fix, but it's simple. Use your reserve officers, not just use them for a Greenbelt Building football game. That's the only time you see them anymore. You know, or a Labor Day, during the parade or something. You know, you got to utilize them. Make them do their 8 hours a month. It would help offset the budget a little bit. And you always have 2 officers on if they're riding with somebody. And that's how we did it back in the day when Chief Mason and Oger was running it. For some reason, nobody wants to take control of the reserve officers and they can do what they want to do. I got 3 guys ask me to come back on and do it, and I won't do it. Don't have time right now. I'd love to, but I think you should look into that. And I want to say, Mayor, it looks good up there. And I see you working every day. I honk at it sometimes. It's looking good out there. Thank you. Thanks.
Any other public comment on items?
Sam Mason, 516 West Main Street. A lot of events, which I don't know everything is coming into town. But if we pick up like volunteers, talk to the county, see if the county can bring in different people. A lot of times if you just have the presence, even if it's, say it's a car show, a bike show, anything like that, you bring in a car, and it makes a big difference because you've got the presence of the people. They really don't have to do anything as long as they're volunteering their time, and a lot of the officers will. I've seen it in a lot of car shows and a lot of bike shows. And they just bring them in, even though they're there. It's just the presence of a law enforcement uniform. It gives a new respect for the little kids, and it gives respect for the people around to say, hey, hey, I'm really going to watch because things are going on here, and we do have an officer in presence. So a lot of times it isn't the physical being of anybody arresting anybody, it's the presence of somebody in authority there showing their face. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
I think I must have heard the numbers wrong, but with what Mr. Firestein was saying and then Councilman Dallow was commenting on, I think you said that there's $144,000 in an account that only gets $125 for interest in a year. Is that, if that's correct, I want to make sure, because my comment won't make sense if I'm not correct on that, but if that is what you said, you know, I have a Lake Michigan Credit Union account that gets a lot more than that on my regular checking account. So something doesn't seem quite right, and I realize that there's perhaps some special regulations or things, although my money is all in a FDIC insured institution, so I would assume that's all that you guys need for that, but something doesn't seem quite right, and I guess if those are the correct facts, I would agree with Joe that perhaps we could utilize financial planner services, or maybe Mr. Brown has experience in that part of it, or something, to see if they do it in different communities and then do something different. Perhaps this is just a gap that was created because of the different staffing. We've had people retire, people move on, and all the different, you know, from city manager to finance director and all kinds of different things. So I guess if those really are the numbers, I would hope that all of you would be concerned about that and try to do something different, because we could definitely get a bigger return on those funds. If we're you know, trying to squabble over, okay, it's $6,000 so that we don't do the city cleanup, just to have a reserve police officer, and that's a great fix, I don't mean to complain about that, I mean, you guys are trying very hard to try to tweak things, but if we're gonna try to figure out what to do over a $6,000 item, perhaps that's something that you can very easily get $6,000 in interest on $144,000 sitting in the bank doing nothing. So I guess I would just encourage you to keep looking at different creative ways, and a couple of other public comments about utilizing volunteers and different resources that our community has. I think if you guys keep pushing that in the right direction, it's a good way to go. I would hope that you don't keep the tentative budget as it is without me seeing it. It sounds like there's some concerns, so hopefully you guys will continue to fix those before it's adopted in its final version. Thank you.
Thank you.
As long as I brought this up, and I thought you people could look at it. It's the very last page in your budget. That's a perpetual fund. You have a library fund, or not a library, but a cemetery fund, or two cemeteries. The only thing you can use out of that money is the interest on it that goes to the cemetery fund. It's a perpetual fund. You get the lots bought and it goes in there. You get the interest that's transferred to cemetery, to the upkeep of it. That's simple. And it should have had a paperwork on the very first instructions and stuff telling about what fund it is and what happens to it and where it goes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Bruce, any words of encouragement? Mike?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Think about it.
So,
Mike?
Well,
Public comment.
huh? That's me. Bruce, is there something we can possibly do with that? To look into getting some more money out of that as far as interest goes on that? If it's only $125, that's a pretty piss poor investment. I mean, is there something stopping us from doing that? I mean, something for you to check into, or have Becky check into it, I don't care. But, I would think that we should be able to get
so
some.
go to work on it.
Yeah, it just kind of boggles the mind a little bit. Other than that, thanks everybody for coming. And those of you who want to be on the planning commission, please raise your hands. We'll take your names. Come on, Benny, keep your hand right.
No.
Okay, be that way.
Right to the CBA.
Sure.
You know, first I'm aware, and I don't know the whole particulars, but and speaking of the events that we have come to the town, I don't know what we have to do, but not too long ago, there was I think it was in the Grand Express where I saw it, but Grampus PD has a large mobile camera that, I mean, I don't know how high it is, but it comes out, and they use it for events. And it's utilized, the only reason they got it is through a grant, and they share it with surrounding counties, and I believe we're one of the counties. So if you can look into that, maybe we can use that for some of the large events that we're starting to get into town. But I know that's shared through surrounding counties. I think we're one of them. GRPD has that, so if you can maybe look into it. I think you got to reserve it or something, but I don't know the parameters, but I can look into that too myself. So. Second, I just want to say how sorry I am that Millie's restaurant has closed down. You know, when I met Jody, we moved into, she lived in the Flats of the River. That was the first restaurant that we went to for breakfast, and I'm very sorry that it was closed down, and I'm really sorry to see it go. That's all I have.
I don't want to say I'm making apologies for the council or for Bruce. I hope everybody realizes the short amount of time that Bruce has been here and the amount of work that he's done to get this budget in shape for us. He's put a lot of work into it, and I think for coming in the way he did and the time he did, I think he's done a good job on it. And the same with Becky, coming in new this last year and being thrown in everything that she's been thrown at. I think she and Kevin is in that department. I think they've done an excellent job. All three of you and the rest of our staff in the office. I think it's going to take time for Bruce to maybe get a handle on some of these accounts that we can maybe get some more interest in. I know in the library fund, they kind of found a CD that had been slipped through the cracks the first of the year. And they were still only looking at about 1% interest, but it had never really been signed off from the previous city manager to Meg. And when Sam's name was on it, and of course he'd left, but through diligence, Becky found the information they needed for it and got it taken care of. But I just, like I said, I'd like to thank Bruce and the staff, the accounting, to put this whole package together and get it to us. And I think it looks like to me a good budget for our city. I don't see any frills in it, but I think we're spending the dollars pretty wisely. And I think as Bruce gets a better handle on some of the nuances in our budget and our investments, I'm sure he'll be able to come up with some ways that we may be able to earn extra or more money on investments.
Yes.
Obviously, there's been some consternation tonight relative to the police funding. You know, obviously we had some issues. You know, our rec board brought up some issues. There's people in the community that brought up some issues. They'd like to see done differently with our police department. And I want to make it clear that I'm not against putting money into something if that's what it takes. But I also think there's some good ideas. Mr. Brown, Mr. Mason, I've heard those ideas from a few different people. Sheriff's posse, police reserves, restructuring of our police department, so on and so forth. I think we might need to look at some of those things. And again, the restructuring of our department before we start spending money, just to make sure that we cover all our bases. Other than that, thanks everyone for coming, being here tonight.
Thank you, Dennis. I just want to thank city staff for getting us the budget, and for everybody that was involved in it. It's been very stressful for Becky, I'm sure. And Bruce, thank you again. And thank everyone for coming tonight, and that's all I really have. Saved by the bell.